RIMS is global. Discover why 10,000 of your peers in more than 60 countries are part of the world's largest risk management community. Visit rims.org/membership to find the best membership for you and your organization. Coming to you from RIMS headquarters in New York, this is RIMScast, the official podcast of the Risk and Insurance Management Society. I am Justin Smulison, Business Content Manager here at RIMS, and your proud RIMScast host. This is episode 376, and we will be joined by Spencer Educational Foundation CEO Megan Miller and ERM strategist and RIMS-CRMP Workshop instructor John Button. There's so much to discuss here on RIMScast. But first, let's talk about the brand new RIMS Risk Foundation's certificate program. This is a beginner-level program that will guide you through the dynamic risk landscape and help you evaluate the purpose, function, and process of risk management. Upon completion of the program, participants will receive a digital Risk Foundation certificate and 24 RIMS CE credits. Cohort Number One is coming up February 10th and 11th. It'll kick off with Fundamentals of Risk Management, and then on February 25th will be Risk Taxonomy. That'll be followed by 2 on-demand courses. Register now because the next cohort will be held in August 2026. A link to registration is on this episode's notes. RIMS members always enjoy deep discounts on the virtual workshops. And the next RIMS webinar will celebrate Women's History Month by exploring the success of women in construction risk on March 6th. We'll be joined by a chief risk officer, an underwriter, and a broker who will explore their career paths, risk and safety philosophies, and lend some insight as to why this is the time for the next generation of leaders to rise up. Visit rims.org/webinars and check out the link on this episode's notes. And folks, general registration is open for RISKWORLD 2026, which will be held May 3rd through the 6th in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Visit rims.org/RISKWORLD or just rims.org and you'll see the banner pop up. Register today to take advantage of those sweet, sweet advance rates, which will only last through the end of this month. We've got some more plugs later. Let's get on with the show. Returning to RIMScast is one of my favorite people. She is the CEO of the Spencer Educational Foundation. She is Megan Miller. There's so much to discuss because Spencer Day is coming up on February 23rd. And we want to hear all about what she has in store for us this month and what's coming up at RISKWORLD 2026 with regard to Spencer and all of their fun events. And I mentioned the Hard Hats and High Stakes webinar, which will be on March 6th. And Megan will be presenting a special introduction for that session. We always have a lot of fun when she comes by the show, and we want to raise awareness for Spencer Educational Foundation. So let's get to it. Spencer Educational Foundation CEO Megan Miller, welcome back to RIMScast. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy 2026. What's on Megan Miller's mind? What's on the top of your mind in 2026 as we record in January just before a nor'easter?
Yeah, prepping for the snow here.
Yeah.
So we had a great year in 2025. We surpassed our goals. So we're kind of riding into 2026 on top of the wave, which is a great place to start. And we are also starting year one of our next 5-year strategic plan. So 2025 was a lot of strategic planning. And so 2026 now is year one of implementing and getting us from 2026 through 2030. And we have some really big growth goals. We're hoping to be raising $10 million a year by 2030.
Wow.
So we got a lot of work to do. We ended last year just over 4 million. So we got to more than double in size over these next 5 years.
10 per year for the next 5 years.
So by 2030, we want to be raising 10 million annually. So starting in 2030, we'll be raising that 10 million a year going into 2031 and 32 and so on. And maybe more. Who knows?
We're working our way up to that 10 million mark by 2030. Okay, got it. All right. Isn't it wild to be talking about the year 2030?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I have little kids, as you know, and they're like, some of them are graduating in 2037 or whatever. So it just makes me feel really old.
It really does. And as, I don't know if we're ever going to use this, but as fans of, or presumptive fans of Back to the Future, it just blows my freaking mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've surpassed that year by a long shot, right?
Yes, we have, which also I'm not happy about.
No.
But so there's so much to discuss because Spencer Educational Foundation is achieving so much. Do you want to take us through what's coming up in 2026 specifically? Starting with Spencer Day.
Yes, starting with Spencer Day, February 23rd, Monday. That is in conjunction with Insurance Careers Month.
Okay.
And so the insurance careers movement is exactly that, right? Let's get more students thinking about careers in insurance. And so we host Spencer Day during that month to raise awareness about what we're doing to help drive more students into insurance careers. And what we try to do that day is raise at least $7,500 among individual contributors to fund an additional scholarship. So our scholarship award amount now is $7,500. So if we can get a bunch of people together to raise $7,500, we can give out one more scholarship in 2026.
And therefore improve the risk landscape and hopefully get one more person on their path to a career in risk.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yes. All right. That's excellent. And tell us about what's coming up in the way of or on the way to RISKWORLD.
Yeah. Well, so RISKWORLD, we do 3 events now, as most of your audience knows. So we have a Pickleball Social that kind of kicks things off for us on Saturday of the conference. So that's May 2nd. We have a new title sponsor this year, which we're really excited about. So Optum has joined the party. And so they're the title sponsor for Pickleball. And then we have our Gallagher Golf Tournament that we have every year, but a new twist this year, it's going to be a Topgolf event as opposed to kind of the traditional 18 holes. And we're really excited about that because it's just going to make it more accessible for everybody, especially people who don't want to spend, 6 hours on the green. And so, people can come and watch. They don't even have to play. So if you really hate golf, you can still kind of come and show up and drink and hang out and network. So that
sounds like a good time. That's Sunday, May 3rd at 9:30 a.m. Eastern in Philadelphia.
Yep.
That's the morning of the soft opening of RISKWORLD, right? So
exactly.
That's a way to commiserate in advance.
Yeah.
That's a way to connect, cultivate, and collaborate in advance of further connection, cultivation, and collaboration.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So just a nice way to kick it off early, kind of get yourself warmed up.
And then on Tuesday, May 5th, you've got the 5K fun run, which is a lot of fun, of course. I have one of the shirts and get a new sponsor this year for the 5K fun run.
We do, yes. So we have a new sponsor, Bold Penguin, which is an insurtech and just an incredible partner. So we're super excited about the new direction for the run. And anyone who's familiar with Philly will know Boathouse Row, and that's where we're having the event take place. It's beautiful, right on the river, and you run up, you run back, and it's going to be a great event. But it's early.
I'm a little surprised it doesn't end with the end of the famous Rocky steps. Doesn't end there?
It probably could because it's not far from the boathouse. I think the biggest issue with that is just getting that sectioned off so that, and we don't want anyone to trip. We are risk managers here, right? We don't want anybody to trip and fall on the steps.
Right. So if you want to, relive your favorite movie moments, run at your own risk, basically.
Yes. And it's a great photo when you're done. So it's easy. It's like, a couple minutes to walk over, get up on the steps and do your photo op.
Yes. And then got a couple more great things happening at RISKWORLD or in conjunction with RISKWORLD. Tell us about the Spencer Soiree.
Yes. So the soiree is Monday night at 5:00. It's kind of our big donor appreciation event. We have a lot of students that come. And we also, at that event, we announce the winners of the Risk Management Challenge. And so that's our international student competition. It takes place all day on Sunday behind closed doors. But then on Monday morning, you have an opportunity to see the top 3 teams present.
So you have the student teams preparing their presentations for the 2026 Spencer RIMS Risk Management Challenge, sponsored also by FM. And I know you're excited about that. We always get some wonderful presentations, right?
Yes, super excited. We have over 50 teams that are already competing in that. So the first round is a paper presentation. So they all submit something online, and then our judges look at all of those and select the top 8 teams.
Wow.
And those 8 teams are then flown to RISKWORLD each year. And last year, half of the teams were international and half of the teams were US based. So it's really exciting. For some of these students, it's the first time they've ever been to the States.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty incredible opportunity.
I remember 2 years ago, it was Hyderabad from India.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
then, they won the whole thing.
that's right. And we had them on the show and they were very excited.
Yep.
Yeah, they were great. And then last year it was the University of Wisconsin-Madison.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, so you've got a lot of talent coming up in the schools, and it's great that they get the recognition.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yes.
And so then what we do at the conference, we have those top 8 teams present behind closed doors on Sunday. And then the judges select the top 3. And on Monday, those presentations are then open to the public. So it's a lot of fun. It's really impressive to hear those students, talking through their case. So you can come and watch the top 3 teams. And then on Monday night, we have our soiree, which is, our donor appreciation event. And we will announce, who's first, second, and third among those top 3. And then they get some pretty generous cash prizes as well. So It's a lot of fun. The whole day on Monday is a lot of fun.
It really is a wonderful itinerary that you've got. And I've been there. I haven't been to the live presentations. Is it a Shark Tank-like vibe?
No, I mean, the students, they look a little nervous because it's a big audience. There's usually the room is packed. But yeah, and then the judges have questions. So obviously they're very rehearsed, but then they don't know what the questions are going to be, you know? So then there's a little bit more of like a ad-libbing, and there's, conferring with each other and whispering before they come back with their very poised answers. It's it's great to see.
And I love how, but for the most part, they are very comfortable. They don't, lean in like they're at a congressional hearing at "Thank you for the question, Senator." They don't have to do that sort of thing.
I mean, it depends. Some of them you can tell are more nervous than others, but they are shockingly poised and super bright. And I think, our judges always come away saying that they learned something from the process as well.
Excellent. And then, we're in the winter now, but looking down on the calendar, in about 8 months, I have nothing to do with it. About 8 months down the calendar, we've got one of my favorite events of the year, which I'm always honored to be invited to. It's the Spencer Funding Their Future Gala. And in 2026, there's a change in venue. I know you're very excited about it. Tell us all about it.
Yes. So September 17th, a Thursday, as usual, we are back at the Waldorf Astoria.
Amazing.
So that was where our first gala was held, at the Waldorf. We were there for a number of years before they closed for extensive renovations. They just reopened this past fall, and we're just super excited to be back there. It's absolutely stunning. I've been in there. I got a hard hat tour. They were putting on the silver leaf. So there is actually, artisans that were painting the silver leaf onto, different decorative aspects of the room. So just absolutely beautiful there.
That's fantastic. And it's wonderful to be in the same space where once stood the king of Zamunda.
Yes, I'm not as excited about that, but sure.
James Earl Jones reference, everybody. All right. And so you've got 2 wonderful honorees, Sierra Signorelli from Zurich, whom I've never met, but I can't wait to meet her. And somebody who I do know a little bit, Mariah Propus from RT Specialty. She was one of the earliest RIMScast guests, and I know that she's been heavily involved in Spencer, so you must be very excited to be giving them the stage, right?
Yes, absolutely. So for Zurich has been a strong partner for a very long time. Sierra is taking on a new role, and it's a very expanded role. So she's going to be, have this very senior position there, which we're excited to honor that and honor our relationship with Zurich. And then, of course, Mariah hired me. So Mariah is the former board chair. She was the board chair when I was hired. So always will have a special place in my heart, and just a very special place within the Spencer organization in general.
Yeah, she's absolutely wonderful. And I don't know if she remembers meeting me, but I remember meeting her.
Oh, she does. She's good. Yeah, she knows you.
She's fantastic. So that's going to be great. So for more information about the Funding Their Future Gala, anybody can reach out to you directly. We also can refer them to Spencer's, one of their new staff members, Brianne Kelly Prensa. And I met her once. She's fantastic. Yep. And that leads me to another item on my agenda. Spencer has some new faces and some new names. You want to talk about them real quick?
Yes, absolutely. So Brianne Kelly Prensa, as you mentioned, she goes by Bree. She's our new development manager. So really in the trenches with me, helping with the fundraising, helping get the story out about the great work that we're doing and finding new and ever evolving partnerships. And then we just hired a program administrator. She started on January 12th. So super, super green. Amisha Katani. She did have some time in the industry. She worked at Hub. She also was one of our interns through our internship grant program. And so she was the intern at LVMH. So Maveen Muhidin, I think we all know and love. She received one of our internship grants, and then Amisha was the intern that ultimately got hired. So she's got some background in the industry, and really excited for her to come in and help us spend all that money that we're raising, right?
Well, it's great to see it come around this way. I want to say it's almost like keeping it in the family.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
which
love
is
that.
wonderful.
Yeah.
But you also have ties with Spencer going way, way back, right?
Yeah, so I am a Spencer Scholarship recipient. I know I probably don't tell people that enough, and it was before I worked here, right? So we don't give out scholarships to our employees, to just to clarify that. But yes, when I was in my underwriting days, first at Excel Insurance, and then when I was at Swiss Re, I got the Spencer Scholarship for the part-time master's program. So while I was getting my MBA, Spencer was very instrumental in helping me complete that, and so it is really full circle. We also have two board members who are Spencer Scholarship recipients. So Robin Roeder, risk manager on the board, and then Christina Vigilante, who is our AIG rep, is also a past Spencer Scholar. So, as we grow and impact more students, we love to see them come back into the fold.
That's excellent. And for anybody who's wondering, Christina Vigilante does not wear a cape.
She's not a vigilante. She's a very nice lady.
Megan, there's one other thing I wanted to discuss with you, and I'm so excited about it. We have this webinar coming up, and it is titled Hard Hats and High Stakes, Women Leaders Shaping Construction Risk Management. Now, this is a RIMS Presents webinar. It's not sponsored, and this idea sort of came to me because I like doing something for the people out there who are really making a difference. And when I saw that Cynthia Garcia she received an award elsewhere in the industry, and I saw that she was a chief risk officer. I said, oh, this is somebody I'd like to meet. And I met her. She was wonderful. She spoke about her ties to Spencer and to you. And instead of doing only a RIMScast episode, we said, let's do something for the broader public. Let's do a webinar. And so she was able to wrangle Danette Beck from Astris Insurance Solutions and Jessica Rasulo from WTW. And then on top of it all, I said, that's not enough. Why doesn't Megan do a little special introduction for us for this session? So I'm thrilled that you're going to be there on March 6th just to help kick things off.
Yes, I'm excited as well. I don't want to say too much because I'll be repeating myself on March 6th.
Right.
But Cynthia's a great partner. She participates in our Risk Manager on Campus program, and she's also helping steward a scholarship through the RIMS Orange County chapter that she's a member of, and other things that you'll hear more about. But I'm super excited about that event, and thank you for tying me into that because I love it.
Absolutely. And there was so much positivity emanating from her. And I mean this so sincerely. It's not something I would normally say, but she got right back to me and she was able to wrangle these other tremendous professionals. And so this will be not only in honor of Women's History Month, but ahead of Construction Safety Awareness Week in May. So we're really covering a lot of bases there. But this is an important sector in our profession that I think deserves the spotlight. So I'm really excited for it.
Absolutely. Same. And you're right. Cynthia, she just has such a great energy. She's
Absolutely.
Just one of those people that you want to know and be around.
Yes. So there's so much to look forward to with regard to Spencer Educational Foundation's activities and all the great things that they have leading up to RISKWORLD and then afterwards with the Funding Their Future Gala. So if anybody has any questions, reach out to Megan. You can find her through spencered.org. And it is just such a pleasure to see you again. And, I get to see you a few times every year. It's not enough.
I agree, Justin. Got to do this more.
All right, moving right along. Our next interview features a very special guest. He is an enterprise strategic and technology risk strategist for American Systems. He is also an instructor for the UCLA Extension Business School, specifically for implementing their enterprise risk management course. I'm talking about John Button, CRMP. Some of you may recognize his name. He is one of the instructors for the RIMS-CRMP Virtual Workshop Series. And guess what, folks? John will be leading the March 10th and 11th workshop and the June 9th and 10th workshop. So we are going to get a glimpse into his risk perspective and philosophy. We're going to talk about strategic risk management and where he believes ERM is headed in the short and long term. Let's get to it. RIMS-CRMP Commissioner John Button, welcome to RIMScast. Welcome to RIMScast.
Hey, thanks for having me, Justin.
Sure thing. Now, before we even get started, you serve on the RIMS-CRMP Council, and I would love to know how you got affiliated with the RIMS-CRMP, the Council, and with RIMS.
Yeah, absolutely. So part of my introduction to the RIMS-CRMP Council was, or I should say the CRMP, it started first with the CRMP, was just hearing about other practitioners that were getting certified. And specifically, it was through Joseph Mayo, who's an author that I've worked with on one of his books, or a couple of his books, actually. So one of them, the latest one was being Cultural Calamity, for example. And he was one who had suggested it, and I looked into it, and I fell in love with it in terms of getting a certification because it was a foundational risk management certification. So that was essentially how it started.
We have a great affection for Joe Mayo here. He was actually our very first RIMS-CRMP story back when we did like a PDF version of it. So we think very highly of him, and so you're in great company there. And from what I understand about the RIMS-CRMP, it's kind of like a little club after you actually get that designation, right? You're a little, like a community within a community, right?
Yeah. It's been a pretty exclusive club, but that exclusivity is spreading quickly around the globe. Actually, internationally, we are doing double-digit growth, I guess you would say, in terms of the number of people getting certified in the RIMS-CRMP. So once was very exclusive, but now it's growing in that exclusivity, I guess you'd say, and we are slowly spreading forward. But it's certainly something you notice right away. Once you've gotten it, you start to see who else has it. So yeah, absolutely.
All right. It's a prestige thing, but that's cool. I like that. Is there, I like the concept of, let's just call it inspiration, but friendly competition. I get it. I'm on board with it, So let's also talk about your risk philosophy, because every RIMS-CRMP workshop instructor is going to have a different philosophy. You're a big advocate for strategic risk management, right?
Yeah. In fact, when I took the RIMS-CRMP and was studying for it, I'd always been aware of strategic risk management, of course, because being an advisor at Gartner for enterprise risk management and also being a practitioner before that. And again, now I'm a practitioner again in the trenches. I had known about strategic risk management, but it wasn't something that was readily practiced like we are beginning to see it more nowadays. And it was actually in taking the RIMS-CRMP, going through the study for it, that I became aware of, essentially RIMS strategic risk management framework that they have, which I think is, quite frankly, one of the most concise, but one of the most clear ways of thinking about it. And it started really connecting dots for me that I hadn't considered previously, involving the value chain and benchmarking and things of that nature. So it's, that's definitely an area which I find really interesting.
Excellent. Now, do you have a take on the difference between strategic risk versus operational risk and how that's evolved?
Yeah, there's a lot of different definitions we can find in terms of the difference between operational and strategic. And when we look at the history, and in fact, this is one of the things we cover in the course, when we look at the history of just risk management in business, we can see this kind of transition that's taken place from just hazard management, I guess you'd say, to something a little bit more operational, putting in controls, to this movement towards strategic. And so these kinds of differences, they're kind of falling away, or they're kind of disintegrating a little bit, because the real value is going to be within strategic risk management. So with strategic risk, what we're really focused on, a number of things, but one of the biggest things is going to be really the business model of the organization. And so when I say business model, I'm really referring to the foundational assumptions. It's kind of like the nucleus that the rest of the organization is going to revolve around. It's going to involve your customers and your financial model and your capabilities and your value proposition. And so strategic risk management, when it really deals with deciding the direction of a company, the direction of where we're trying to go, and that business model for how we're going to achieve success, and through whom, and through what product or service, these types of things, that is fundamentally different than operational, which may involve the execution of parts of the strategy, or keeping the lights on, and the kind of run the business type of things.
Right. That's so wonderful to hear. I think that's the first time in recent memory that anybody's broken it down that way on this show. And it's good. We want those different perspectives. I think that's fantastic. Now, as someone deeply involved in the RIMS-CRMP and certification evolution, what does John Button see as the most important competencies for future risk leaders?
Man, that's an excellent question. And I've given that a lot of thought, and I can give you my latest thinking on that. Of course, it changes, but that's important anyway with risk management. Right. Things change.
Well, yeah. The answer would evolve. I would assume the answer might change 5 years from now, but go right ahead, please.
Yeah. So in terms of the most important skills, I would definitely say that risk practitioners beginning to understand the decision science, the decision analysis component of measuring uncertainty, so just broadly placed like that, I think is very important. That's going to involve having basic understandings of just statistics, some basics of probability theory, psychology when it comes to biases and these types of things that impact our decisions, usually in a negative way. I think that's really critical. And one of the things that's really being pushed more broadly, and in fact, something that we're working on internally with RIMS, or for RIMS, I should say, for developing the kind of risk quantification courses necessary for, not people looking to become quants per se, like trading stocks or something, but for those who are interested in learning how to measure and communicate risk in economic terms, which is going to be really important for that communication, both upwards and downwards within an organization. I would say in the near future, that is definitely the most important skill set that can really differentiate risk practitioners and companies, in their decision making and in their achieving of goals and objectives.
That's excellent. Now, would you agree that risk ownership is more than just assigning responsibility? It's about identifying whose objectives are truly at stake. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. It's, oftentimes that's usually a big one too, which is, who owns this?
Right.
And with risk, it's typically the way it's done now is the people who are doing the work, what we might call responsible. They're responsible for actually mitigating the risk or treating the risk somehow. They oftentimes get also hung with the label of they're the people who own the risk. And that's actually not true at all. And instead of going through really difficult, algorithms for figuring out who owns what and when and how do we divide this up, it's actually fairly straightforward if we just go back to the root of what a risk is. A risk being uncertainty that's going to negatively impact an objective, or usually most people can agree with that as a bare minimum definition. So people will also put up the opportunity side for risk. But at the end of the day, it's uncertainty that'll impact an objective. And since an objective is going to be the key differentiator for what determines whether something's a risk, or are we just talking about a unclaimed uncertainty or something that just seems concerning, it really comes down to the real question is not who owns the risk per se, but which objective is threatened, or whose objective is threatened. And when you do it that way, can help kind of cut through the noise and help build the accountability bridge, which is usually missing.
So it challenges the way that organizations think about accountability in ERM.
Yeah. In fact, I would say it's actually, once you identify a true owner, and there's several studies that have actually been really interesting in this. One's called the Bear Study. There's another book. It's called Risk Governance. And one of the things that it goes to show is that when executives, and I'm going to paraphrase this, so forgive me for the kind of broad stroke here, but generally
That's
speaking,
all right.
when you don't
put it in John Button's words.
Perfect. All right, because I'm very good at that. What we'd want to do is what we've noticed through these studies, or what they showed, I should say, is when we did not have true ownership of risk, and it was just kind of, like the committee owns it, and it wasn't a singular, and there wasn't an individual or a particular seat, most individuals ended up, or most of the executive decision makers were using what we'd call system one thinking. And that comes from Daniel Kahneman. But essentially, he breaks everything into system one and system two as an analogy. And basically saying system one is kind of our lizard brain. It is our automatic brain. We don't need to infer what a red light means. We just see the red light, we stop. That's kind of system one thinking. System two thinking is the kind of thinking where it's problem solving, and it's more complex. We have to deliberate. We have to think about it. And what happens is when you don't have ownership, they're able to show that the executives tend to be in system one thinking regarding, risk management and specific risk. The minute you basically put their name on a chalkboard and say, look, if it were me, Mr. Button, you own, just follow your line across, this risk or something along those lines. We noticed that the executives immediately switched into system two thinking. And so that was the beginning of accountability. So I'd say it's actually a byproduct when you can do this correctly.
Excellent. Let's harken back to something that you said earlier, because you said quants, which is cool. I don't hear that too often on the show. Many risk functions still rely heavily on ordinal scales and qualitative methods. What role do quantitative practices like risk quantification, financial terms, play in helping ERM earn a seat at the strategic decision-making table?
Yeah. Okay. So there's two parts to that. One, as it relates to just the quantitative risk analysis, it's incredibly important because it allows us to accurately and mathematically measure risk. I mean, we can count risk. You just can't do that with ordinal scales. Ordinal scales tell us essentially the order of things, but they don't tell us much more than that. So, for example, most people would they would prefer a one, what is it for movies, 1 4-star movie to 4 1-star movies.
Sure.
Those are not equivalent, right? So ordinal scales,
unless you work for Mystery Science Theater, that's what you want. Yes.
right. So and we could do the same thing with lots of ordinal scales. They're very useful for certain things, but they're not what we'd say is additive. You can't really actually add those up. They're not mathematical in that sense. And when you begin to measure risk in a quantitative way, a truly quantitative way, something that maybe a statistician or an actuary would more recognize, what that does is it allows us to do a lot of things that you can't do previously. So, for example, we can now accurately forecast what kind of impact we think a particular event's going to have. So it's not just a single number or it's a high risk or something like that. We can forecast. We think there is a greater than or equal to 50% chance of $100,000 loss over the next year or something. What that enables executives to do is it gives them essentially the full map, a better and more informed decision. So that's one area. Others are you can begin to add them up in a mathematically coherent way. You can see how they kind of hang together for that in a much better way for like a kind of like a portfolio. Like we look at our stock portfolio as a whole. We want to see how risk for the organization, how do they kind of hang together if we look at them as a portfolio? You can begin to do that with these things. And so it all starts with just how do we measure a single risk event in a more mathematically and accurate way? And that's really what it boils down to.
Excellent. Now, John, you've got deep experience here in risk management. What does true risk culture look like to John Button? I'm going all Jiminy Glick on you here. What does true risk culture look like to John Button?
I just got introduced to him, which is sad.
Oh, really?
But
That's a
just
25-year-old
recently.
reference, everybody.
It's hilarious. I recommend you look it up. Jiminy Glick, he's great.
Jiminy Glick.
Yeah. What is a good risk culture, I guess, mean to me, or what does that look like?
Yeah. If you were going to describe one, in just a few sentences, how would you do it?
I would say that a good risk culture is one that I could give you almost the cliche of what a culture is, and it's the shared beliefs and things like that. But it's
you see him rolling his eyes as he says that.
Yeah, I guess it's true, but it's not really instructive to the everyday worker who's, quite frankly, is just going, look, I'm just trying to meet my objectives, right? Let's cut the noise out here. And at the end of the day, what it really is I guess if I could see it, the kind of outcomes I would expect to see would be an organization that not only practices what they preach, or not only just preaches it, but they actually practice it. So it's not just speeches around top down, a tone at the top is actually what I was looking for. But I would expect to see incentives built into people's performance for how they are measured. So it's not just whether you met your goals and objectives. We also want to make sure that people didn't do it just by sheer luck, because if they aren't following a good practice, for example, or if they aren't managing their risk, while they were successful this year, maybe next year they won't be. So we'd want to see the incentives in there. We'd want to see people believe things like, it's okay. In fact, it's encouraged for me to share bad news early and things of that nature. A lot of organizations speak to it, but what they say and what they do, as we all probably know, are oftentimes two separate things.
When we see in the news that a company has gone through massive layoffs, is that a failure of risk culture or a true risk culture?
I would say that a situation like that, I guess I would have to say it would depend, because one of the big mistakes that's taking place right now is what we're seeing there's a big push right now for what I just advocated for just a few minutes ago, being more quantitative tools and skills for doing risk management. The challenge is that risk management is far more than just that. And so there's like this kind of movement right now for just reducing everything to just decision analysis. It would be not necessarily something a failure or a non-failure. It would be more of why that happened. And more times than not, in this day and age, it's really more short-termism for companies. But there's kind of a deeper point, which is even if you do risk management well, and even if you develop a solid risk culture, there is always the possibility and even high probability of failure. Even organizations that are highly reliable organizations, while they may not experience disasters or bad things happening as often as others, they can be just as susceptible to systemic risk and big surprises, essentially. So it would really depend on why, but having a good risk culture, I think, would lower the probability of those types of things happening. So,
excellent. Now, is that the sort of thing that you shine a light on during the RIMS-CRMP virtual workshops that you lead?
Yeah, risk culture is definitely one of the things that we touch on, and it's really about trying to develop a programmatic and systematic approach to risk that is consistent, that is coherent, and something that serves as a foundation for further growth. So it's really the beginning of the journey, not the end of the journey.
John, you've got the ear of the global risk management community here on RIMScast, and I was wondering, is there a core principle about how risk professionals should be thinking about uncertainty in the context of opportunity? Do you have a philosophy, or can you speak from your own experience about how to flip the script?
Yeah. And this will be what I'm going to say. If you just follow me for a second, hopefully this will make sense. But one One of the main things that I've met a gazillion practitioners in risk management, and then the folks that would help be supporting roles of that or sponsors of risk management. So I've had a lot of exposure over the last 15 or 16 years or something like that to all different types of people. And I will say that I don't want to say the personality, but the attitude, I guess, of the typical risk practitioner, I've noticed, if I had to generalize, is oftentimes, I don't want to say compliance focused, because there's a lot of good that comes out of compliance, as much as compliance gets, is not always, it is kind of frowned upon sometimes.
Right.
But they almost sometimes seem to be a little bit more binary in their thinking and more black and white. They remind me sometimes a little bit of like police or lawyers or something. And I think that was probably a very good thing for risk practitioners who were practicing as risk management was maturing. We're trying to develop these programs internally. However, in the future, the move towards strategic risk management is going to need far more than just being able to forecast certain risk events or any other kind of forecast they try to help the business with as it relates to how risk and uncertainty is going to affect their performance. I think actually the next phase is going to come from using one's imagination, probably in collaboration with AI, but it won't be AI alone. It'll be those who can try to see beyond the next, what would I call it?
Breakthrough?
No,
Innovation?
not so much. It would be something that would lead to innovation, but it would be essentially the next time frame. So if it's a 5-year time frame for strategy, it's a matter of trying to look 5 years ahead and 6 years ahead and 7 years ahead. It's trying to develop hypotheses and guesses and a different kind of forecast about where different trends and drivers and conditions are going to be showing up in that external risk landscape. So I think it's going to move outside of just the organization itself. And the next wave of practitioners will be, yes, they'll be equipped quantitatively. But I think it's really going to, I think AI is going to help a lot of that stuff. I think a lot of it's going to come from being able to really help steer strategy and the strategic direction of business models through where are the opportunities for innovation and things of that nature, which doesn't take place a lot right now with a lot of the teams I've worked with.
All right. Well, this has been such an enlightening conversation. I do want to mention again that you will be leading the virtual workshops for the RIMS-CRMP on March 10th and 11th and June 9th and 10th. What's John Button's instruction style like?
Yeah. Magic tricks. I like to,
do you do impressions? Because that's all I would be able to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that for me personally, I really enjoy teaching. I'm currently also teaching at UCLA. They're part of their school as well for the implementing enterprise risk management. What's really important to me is making sure people are crystal clear. I really enjoy making sure people understand the foundation, like just analyzing what is the concept. Most challenges in risk management, if I had to do my own reductionism and reduce it down to something, I would say oftentimes it does come down to communication. Just communicating the same terms. What one person means by cyber risk may not be what somebody else means. Just getting those types of things in place. So understanding those concepts and making sure that those that I'm teaching really feel confident that they walk away. So my teaching style is thorough, and I really try to make sure people walk away with examples and they feel like they're ready to go. Not just the.
You answer all the questions from the students?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yep. I always give extra time. I always stay back after to like an office hour after the thing's over to make sure questions, comments, concerns. I'm here to answer them there or even later. So I have people who come back to me all the time to ask questions, and I'm just more than happy to help them.
Another reason that we connected last year, 2025, was because of the RIMS-CRO certificate program in advanced ERM, which was hosted by the fantastic and brilliant James Lamb. You know him a bit, right?
Oh, yeah. I met James. I read his book, and then I saw him at, I was one of the presenters at at the fair conference in 2022 or 2020. Yeah, 2022. And I went right up and I just, Mr. Lamb, please call me James. It's like, okay, great.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to meet you. So yeah, absolutely. We've been friends ever since.
That's excellent. And you completed the course in one of the earlier modules, of course, by now. And what was that workshop like? That was a bi-weekly workshop, right?
Yeah, that's correct. So it's what I call kind of taking, it's the difference between that and like a boot camp. Boot camps are typically 2 days and it's a lot of cramming. This was more what I'd call like a farming method where, we're planting the seeds, and over the course of, I believe it's 6 different sessions, every other week for about 4 hours, we really dig into it and we're building on each of the modules essentially live as a collective class, I guess, so it's all live. And so that's essentially how it's structured.
The next cohort will begin in April. Registration closes April 6th, and that course will run from April 14th through June 23rd, 2026. Like we said, it's bi-weekly. And if you've been checking out RIMS's social channels, you'll see a testimonial from John talking about that course. And it seems like it was extremely beneficial for him, as well as the other folks who lent their perspectives. So I can't say enough great things about not just James Lamb, but the people who have spoken about how great it is. And if you look at the link on this episode show notes, I've got a link to the certificate program page. John's certificate is up there.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Mine is the official one. Yeah.
Yeah. So, if you ever wanted to impersonate John Button as you go through life, you can do that with his certificate. And
yeah.
And John, are we going to see you at RISKWORLD 2026?
Yeah, absolutely. So I definitely plan on being at RISKWORLD 2026. My first time was last year. And having been someone who came from, or I've seen a lot in the business of conferences, and I can tell you my totally unbiased opinion, but I was blown away by how awesome RISKWORLD is. There's just nothing like it. So absolutely, if you're there, please reach out to me and let me know. I'd be happy to meet whoever's there and whoever's going, and I look forward to it.
Special thanks again to both of our guests, Megan Miller, the CEO of the Spencer Educational Foundation, and John Button, one of our valued RIMS-CRMP commissioners and virtual workshop instructors. Links to spencered.org and to John's upcoming virtual workshops for the RIMS-CRMP are on this episode's show notes. Check it out, register now, and let them know how great they sounded on RIMScast in February 2026. And now I want to speak about a topic near and dear to my heart, sponsorships. You can sponsor a RIMScast episode either on our publicly facing weekly show, that's this show, or with a dedicated episode. RIMScast has produced special episodes for JB Boda, The Hartford, Alliant, Zurich, Highwire, AXA XL, Prudent Insurance Brokers, High Trust, and Aon. Links to sponsored episodes are on our show notes. RIMScast has a global audience comprised of risk and insurance professionals, legal professionals, students, business leaders, C-suite executives, and more. Let's collaborate and help you reach them. Contact pd@rims.org for more information. Let's talk about RIMS membership, folks. Become a RIMS member and get access to the tools, thought leadership, and network you need to succeed. Visit rims.org/membership or email membershipdept@rims.org for more information. And let's also talk about Risk Knowledge. This is the RIMS searchable content library that provides relevant information for today's risk professionals. Available materials include RIMS executive reports, survey findings, contributed articles, industry research, benchmarking data, and more. For the best reporting on the profession of risk management, check out Risk Management Magazine, the Society's official monthly publication. You can find us on rmmagazine.com. It is written and published by the best minds in risk management. My name is Justin Smulison, Business Content Manager here at RIMS. Please remember to subscribe to RIMScast on your favorite podcasting app. Email us at content@rims.org. Practice good risk management, stay safe, and thank you again for your continuous support.